Yeah, we're getting
Yep.
thumbs up. All right, well, I think it's time to call the meeting to order, so let's verify our quorum here. We'll start with individuals in the room. Ron Lohman,
Here.
Manny Lesbrance,
Here.
Mark Matini,
Here.
Leif Alm. See you there.
You did.
I'm here.
Jimmy? Yeah.
Here.
Jeff Arterburn
Yep, good morning.
and Art Palmer.
Here.
Thank you all, and JP will be tuning in about half an hour, so we'll keep an eye out for him. And real quick introduction of people in the room here, Caitlin Rule, Habitat Program Manager.
I'm Della Joyner, I'm the Northern PIO for Game Fish.
Carrie Harris, Assistant Chief of Aquatic Habitat and Compliance and Fisheries Management Division.
Corey Webster, Fish Habitat Coordinator. Mark Matini. Live here. I also, I am on board for Backcountry Hunters and Anglers for, well, I'm not here representing them, I'm here representing myself.
Manny Lesbrance, member.
Ron Loman, committee member.
Thank you. It looks like we have Jen D'Annabelle, you're tuned in. Can you unmute her, Della? Yeah. Go ahead.
She's unmuted. Jennifer, you can go ahead and introduce yourself. I don't know if anybody's there.
Sorry, Jen, we're not hearing you. This is Jen, our Southwest habitat biologist out of Las Cruces. Not sure why we can't hear you, Jen. Sorry about that. Okay. With that, the next order of business is getting into our project prioritization. Thank you all for returning your worksheets to me. I'm able to plug that in, and so shortly here, we'll pull that list up just so everybody kind of has a general sense for where things are falling out at this point to get things kicked off. But quickly, before we do that, I think I'll let Fisheries take over and discuss a little bit more about the Santa Fe AOP project.
Do you have that pulled up the?
Yeah, let me get that.
If not, I have it on this drive here. Oh, you do? Okay, thank you. So from the meeting that we had when we proposed this project, the comments and suggestions that we received were that maybe there might be a possibility of separating the project out instead of having one large project for $700,000. So, you know, we take your comments are very valuable in with this process. So what I went ahead and did, and this is completely up to you because this is it's a new, you know, conceptual design, you know, or project. And so with that, so I wanted to introduce some options. So, and if you don't want to, we can go ahead and keep it how it was, and you can rank the original one just because this came so new, how it was. Or there's the options that we have 3 other options for maybe ranking this project instead of the $700,000 option to rank it for just to fund both locations, just the designs only, to fund the Rito Peñas Negras designs and construction by itself, or fund the Rio Savoya designs and construction by itself as well. Now, I sent this out, but I know you haven't had much time to think about it. So I wanted to leave it up to you as a discussion within the committee members to see if this is something you would like to do, to vote on it differently or to keep it the same. And then we can, bring this up next year or however we want to do it. Just wanted to give you all the opportunity to discuss it and see what you wanted to do.
I guess for my part, it makes sense to standardize the design and just move forward with the design. However, I don't think it would change my ranking.
I understand, yeah.
I would place them both at the same level. So.
Okay, and that was the complicated part about this is it going to change how this is all constructed with your rankings? If it's not going to change, anything, then it doesn't matter. But if it does change it, then we're gonna have to work through this today.
For me, it changed it, and
Okay,
it's.
Okay, I have a
I looked
question.
through it and it said, construction, 635,000. Design 63, which is, that I can see being realistic. Basically 700 and something thousand. That's a lot of money for one project.
yes,
And we have a lot of parts of the state that I would like to see us make contributions to.
mhm,
And that was gonna take a third of the money.
Yes.
To
mhm,
me, that was too much, but that's just for me. That was me.
yes.
I have a question. Why are these structures so much more expensive than the Vidal AOP? What I figured is they're 3 times more per culvert or bridge, whatever you want to call them, than the Vidal AOP. And I didn't see any reason why that should be true.
So the reason for the Rio Savoya one, that one is because of its location and staging and bringing all the equipment and what we would have to do to get the equipment out there. And so that's where our estimate was. And then also the Rio Savoya, the estimates for the culverts were based off of the culvert estimates off of the Via Vidal. So those were kind of based off those ones.
So the structure.
The structure themselves
Is the same.
is roughly the same.
It's the mobilization
But
cost.
taking it out there is twice as much as the cost of the structure.
Well, not twice as much, but the construction as well added to it.
Um,
And then for
Is that the only way it could be built? Is there some way to take account of the location and build the same kind of fish passage? That's when anybody goes across that road. And as I understand Pipeline Road, our members who said when they tried to go recently, it's been blocked off by the Forest Service. And you can't go up 144 and go across.
And the reason they blocked that off is because when you get closer, you can't really drop down into the canyon down there because the road is pretty bad. And so that was part of it was.
So there's not a whole lot of traffic going up there.
Yeah, exactly. And then also for the Rito Piñas Negras, that one is more expensive because it's a very large structure. It's a lot larger than the ones in the Via Vidal.
And Via Vidal did not include construction, it was
That's
just the
just
product.
culvert itself. That's just to purchase the culvert by itself.
Okay.
That has nothing to do with construction.
Are these monolithic and you have to haul them in and you just plunk them down?
Yes,
More or less,
they're
yeah.
built
It's a
offsite.
single unit.
They're built offsite.
And so is that the most cost effective way to make one of those fish passages?
Well, Corey, what I'm basing this off, because this is all conceptual again. So what I'm basing this off of is what the engineers recommended in their designs for the Via Vidal, right?
It's a different location with different access, different amount of traffic, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
So it seems to me this is putting the construction ahead of design.
Correct, yeah, and that's why I'm giving these options, because we would have to do design no matter what, and then we would get a cost estimate from the engineers.
It's like buddy fire aim.
Yeah, so I think what he's trying to communicate is that we're using the engineer designs from the Vidal, and in our conceptual thought process
Mhm.
is just using that concept and applying it to the Santa Fe forest.
Mhm.
And I think you have a point that there are probably other
Right.
structures, other designs that would achieve the same.
Okay, and do you know that if the engineers actually were ever on site to look at these two crossings?
Not,
No.
not in the Santa Fe.
This is a conceptual.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So designs, we would like,
That's a killer for me.
yeah, so that's why we would have the option of.
That is not an engineering design when the engineers haven't even seen where it's supposed to go.
Okay.
That's
Sure,
pie in the sky.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right, and okay.
Jeff, go ahead.
Yeah, two other questions had come up when we met previously, and I wondered if, Corey, if you have any information about that. That's, like how many stream miles would be reconnected on the Saboya with this, for example, and what percent of it, we weren't sure since it was in the headwaters. Do you have any more information on that? And just verifying there's no other federal partners or no other NGOs involved in that. That was another thing that that would be, advantageous, I think, for the project. Any more info on that?
Yes, I did reach out and internally and with the Forest Service, to come up with that. I think, you asked these questions.
You answered, I sent it to Caitlin. as well.
Right.
Okay, so we do have these, so the Rio Savoya, it's gonna be about 1.8 miles of year-round fish habitat above the crossing. Is this being shared, Caitlin?
No, it's not.
It is not. Oh, it is, it says, yeah.
No,
it's
no,
sharing it.
the
Oh.
presentation is still showing.
Oh, okay. But yeah, so Rio Savoya, it's 1.8 miles above year-round fish habitat. And then on the Rito Peñas Negras,
2.8.
2.8 miles above the above the Rito Peñas Negras. And then the other question to address that as far as, were you looking for federal partnership as far as them helping with funding or?
Yeah, that's funding and.
I have not reached out or contacted, well, I've reached out to the Forest Service, but no, this was a standalone HSP project that was being proposed.
So the other thing to address, Ron's comment about not having an engineer be on site and say anything. The proposal of just doing designs, the 65,000 would be to get an engineer out there. He might actually say, oh, these streams and the access, like these culverts are just,
Overkill.
it's a non-start. He might very well say that.
Yeah.
We're just basing this conceptual design on something that we did know, which was the Vidal. And as you very rightly pointed out,
Flat, open.
yeah, these are not the same systems at all. So just, that's another point, but, if you guys are
So,
fine with keeping it as the whole project that how Corey originally proposed it and ranking it,
however you
however
want,
you wanted, that's totally fine
Or
as well.
or we can replace that with just designs only, which seems to be the more popular idea. Is that consensus? And then you can rank designs by itself?
Would it be relevant to ask where it ranks right now?
Yeah, or is it gonna be irrelevant? Exactly.
That's a good question.
Yep, let me pull that up.
But thank you for
Thank you so much.
taking the time to listen to our thoughts and hear us out and
I
provide.
spent a lot of
feedback.
time on this
Oh.
one,
So
talking to New Mexico trout members.
Yeah.
And looking at Forest Service maps,
Mhm.
finding people who had been up there.
right. which we very much appreciate. This was, like Corey pointed out, a very last minute. Oh, we should throw this at the CEC, but we have no background information, no,
Just to see
it was just a, hey, we could do this.
It's ranked 8 on there,
on there, what's the
Nice.
average?
It's actually nice.
9.
Yeah, the column here that
Is
you
it
see
medium?
is median.
And what's the average on it? It's probably not gonna change much.
Oops. Average is 8.
So average is 8. So yeah,
And
it's
then-
pretty low on where you all are thinking. I just didn't know if I threw out, hey, instead of the $700,000 for everything, so now, like, if we're just asking you to rank just designs only, would
Would-
this change people's, would this change the committee's perspective on it, and would it rank differently, or would it stay at in the same area, and then we can just go as with how it is now?
I would rank it higher. I'm not sure. I'm looking at my, my list here. I would bump it up because it's less expensive. And I think it would be good to know if those are even feasible.
Yes, okay.
Okay, should we go
Take a
through
vote?
the exercise of adjusting your score to see?
Well, I don't know if other people.
I feel the same way.
I wouldn't bump it a whole lot, but, I did rank it.
or John, I see that you guys are unmuted. Do you have anything to add?
Yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Not sure where we are at this point. I just got on here.
No, hey JP, yeah, we were going through, the first item after roll call, which was the Santa Fe AOP options, and fisheries is leading the discussion on this, talking about, potentially changing that one to designs only, if that would change rankings for folks. So,
Yeah, not for me.
Okay.
I ranked it based on only the design.
Oh, you
Oh,
did?
did you?
Okay.
Caitlin, because we're seeing the standard deviation, can we see the ranking next to the projects?
Oh,
Standard deviation's fine, but
no, that's not what you want to be stuck on.
yeah, there you go.
Here's the
Yeah,
median.
median rank, right, yep. And that color coding correlates with, funds available out of what's actually budgeted. So down to when we get to the orange, is that the last that?
So that color coding just relates to those, the medians relative to each other. Over here in this last column
Yeah.
shows if we were to use the medium with everybody's rankings as is, after Main and South, there's still $240,000 that would not fund all of the next project, but would be remaining to trickle
Right.
down.
So there's, 240. And so of those, so the Santa Fe one could fit within that 240K, but the others, the Southwest Habitat Connectivity, we had at 350K. Is that so that would be
Yeah.
out of it. And then the Mesquite was 150K.
Okay, I'd like to ask another question about Rio Grande cutthroat.
Yes.
My understanding is that the cutthroat population in the Savoia, well, I'm not understanding, I know it's contaminated with lots of brown trout
correct.
going up as far as our members of fish. So are you proposing connectivity for brown trout? Is that what it's supposed to be doing?
Ultimately, the idea with the department is to do habitat work within the stream all the way down. And then the ultimate goal is we have a YY brown trout program going,
Right.
just like we have brook trout, and we're the goal is to introduce YY brown trout in there. to take care of the brown trout population.
So this is a question that we often talk about
Is
in fisheries.
Habitat or fish, like, what do we do first?
Well, it's like, it's kind of like, yeah, do we restore the habitat first and then address the question of, non-native fish? Or do we handle address the question of non-native fish and then do the habitat work?
Right.
I think kind of the way we lean is that regardless of the species, you need habitat.
Oh, yeah,
So-
you're preaching to the choir.
Yeah.
Right, exactly, and this is a question that comes up every single time we propose to do a habitat work, is like, okay, well, we know that there's browns in the stream, so where do we want to prioritize? And I think right now we're prioritizing, the school of thought is we'll prioritize doing habitat work, and then we'll address the non-native.
Okay, and if you really are concerned about habitat, what are you gonna do about all the cattle that are just totally stomping the Savoia down? If you go upstream up to where Road Canyon goes in, there's no grass on this stream, there's no banks.
Yeah.
You got a nuclear detonation site because of overgrazing and cattle permittees who don't follow the grazing plans restrictions.
Yeah.
So, maybe it's better if that upper part isn't connected and that those cutthroat up there can just
Hang on.
hang on and reproduce and not be affected by cattle and brown trout until you get the lower part fixed.
That's, yeah, certainly, cause I agree, like,
So
maybe see if people online, if this would change figure out.
Yes, that's what we need to do.
Ranking.
Yes.
So it sounds like it may change, would it change your ranking?
If it included, the discussion of Rio Grande cutthroat habitat improvement, if that included that and not just an engineering design of a ridge over a stream, I would move it up.
okay.
Okay.
Jimmy, did you have a comment?
No, I was just gonna say, it's not gonna change my ranking this year. Nothing against the particular project. I just thought it was too expensive, and we've got a bunch of other projects that we're funding the design
Okay.
phases right now. So I mean, it wouldn't change my ranking.
Thank you.
How about you, Eve?
It would not change my ranking. It's not a good bang for the buck. The other things fit much better and they're much broader.
Thank you.
So if I were
Art?
to change mine, it's not gonna change the average.
That's what we're trying to find out, yeah.
Yeah, it's not gonna change my ranking significantly. I think just there's some more thought that needs to go into this, bring it forward in future years. Then certainly I would say breaking it in the future years, breaking it down by design and then, what the cost of each stream would be. I like Ron's idea of maybe combining habitat work below the. where.
Yes, thank you.
But
We learned,
Jeff, did we hear from you on this?
Yeah, I think so. I think definitely in the realm of design, and I like Ron's suggestion for the assessing the habitat and making plans for that. That's and the, dealing with the population above what would be reconnected, definitely don't want to compromise that. So I agree with those points.
Okay.
What are you guys thinking?
do we wanna go through, so we've got 1, 2, 3. It won't change your change?
No,
No, it won't change.
no. So there are two yeses,
No's. I'm sorry, it was five no's.
5 no's and 2
Okay.
yeses,
So I think we should
And one in
just,
between.
and 1 in between.
yeah, it's unlikely that, Ron and Jeff's re-rankings will
Okay.
vastly
Yeah.
change the overall outcome. So I think at this time, we'll leave it how it is, how it's
Okay.
currently ranked.
I'm happy.
Is that okay with everyone? Just to leave it?
And then
Yeah,
we could
just
just
look at
move
things
on.
as is and.
Next year.
Go through everything, talk about it, if for some reason, you know, if anybody has a eureka moment at the end of the day and can.
Yeah.
And still, nothing's final yet, but we'll just leave scores.
Okay,
as
and
is.
I just say from, personally, I would like to see this revisited
Okay,
in future years because
Thank you.
the Savoya after the Guadalupe is my favorite stream.
Okay.
There in the Hamptons.
Thank
yeah,
you
we
so much.
will
Yeah.
certainly continue our conversations with the Forest Service throughout the year and we'll develop something a little bit more concrete and
Yeah.
less conceptual.
Perfect.
Okay,
Thank
thank you all for
Yeah.
your feedback and we can just go ahead and move on to the next.
Yeah, so, we can discuss projects. Last year, I think we went project by project, is that right? We start with a project and then discuss throughout the room, does that make sense? Do we want to start on the lower end? Or in the order presented?
I get it. I don't know. I don't know.
I would like to do some rank order, but not in the order that they were originally on your list, which would just mix the order.
Right.
Yeah, I'd like to know either decreasing likelihood or increasing likelihood. I don't care which, start at the bottom and start Xing them off.
Sure,
No, that
okay,
sounds like a good idea.
let's start then with, 6 Mile Dam. Ron, why don't you kick things off for us with discussion on 6 Mile Dam?
Yes, I looked at that as a kind of a city of Carlsbad project for recreation improvement, and I didn't see that it provided a whole lot of benefit to what I think this committee and what this habitat stamp money is meant to be provided for.
Okay, Danny.
I kind of felt the same way. The project I thought was a localized benefit. However, I did think that providing funding for the design is probably a reasonable effort, at least to contribute a portion, perhaps not continuing that support onto the construction.
And I liked it more than most probably. It's in an area that doesn't get that much attention. And I'd kind of like to see that part of the state get some attention. It'd be easy to put together a package that's all the northern border of New Mexico. So look at these things. So something in the southwest, something in the Blue Hill, I think it's useful to try to spread money as much as we can, which is why we're probably rated them higher than others do.
Okay. Going online, Leaf, why don't you go ahead?
It just didn't rank. To me, it was a non-starter. It looked like something more of a recreational fishing improvement opportunity. And that if you're the fish, the species that was brought up most was flathead catfish. And I don't think that you're going to change a lot for them. And plus if you're improving it for them, you're impacting a whole lot of native fishes in that stream, for a non-native. And I know it's a fishing opportunity, but it just didn't rise to the top.
Okay, Jimmy.
Yeah, I'm kind of on the same page as Leaf. It just, there were a lot of other projects that I thought were going to rank a lot higher. And of the projects that I didn't necessarily see making the cut, this was one on the lower end for me.
Thanks. Jeff,
Yes, nothing really to add. The top six were all in my top six. So, I'd be happy to take that ranking, all the green and go with those. So,
okay, JP,
Yeah, I ranked it at the bottom also, mostly because I do think it's also more of a Carlsbad city thing. They should they should pull some money out and take care of their little area right there for that. Um, it just seemed to me like there's not going to be much of the in stream there, and putting the trees there, it's like all the money going to be along the bank, or are they going to put it in the parking lot? I mean, it just didn't seem like a good project, so I put it at the bottom. But I do agree at one point for, projects, I think it's imperative that, you know, we spread as much money around the state as possible. Um, so there's some reason that's part of the reasoning I had for some of the other um, top six projects right now that are there. I wouldn't have put them up there because it just everything's up north.
Thank you.
And Art,
Yeah, I'm not real excited about the project. The only thing I could think of is, if we worked on all the other projects and we had, some money left for some design work down there that, we couldn't add to, one of the higher ranked projects, then I would say, it's always good to have at least some design on the shelf that, people could use later, but, that's about all I can see done there.
okay, thank you. Yeah, I think, it's probably good for us to still chat about all these, just mainly from our standpoint to get everybody's feedback. But understand that we may be moving a little bit faster through these initial lower ranking ones. So, with that, let's jump up to Upper Rio Puerto. Ron, could you start us off again?
I've been sort of following that from 550 for years when, Wilder Guardians was planting cottonwoods and willows, and I think that's desirable, but, it seems like a lot of money from my standpoint, not to do very much. So that's basically it, not enough bang for the buck.
Okay, thanks. Manny, any thoughts on that one?
My notes, I think it's a solid concept, probably a much needed project out there. It's really, I'm not real familiar with that area. I don't know how much use it actually gets. I didn't rank it very high just due to the location and then my personal lack of knowledge of the area.
Thank you. Mark?
It didn't quite make it into the top six for me, but it was seventh, I believe. I know that, the state highway folks are doing some work there. It was connected to building ways to let wildlife make their way across, and then part of the idea of it is to make that somewhat easier. The tribes have had some contact about that as well. But there's not a lot of water there in a predictable kind of way. It doesn't really, it's not gonna be easy to make the kinds of changes that would make it dramatic, I think, in terms of what we're doing. So for me, I would just leave it there as one of the lower ones that I would go for first.
Thank you. Leaf, how about you? You're muted, Leaf.
the scope of it is huge. It took 200 years for it to get in that condition. And we could spend every penny we had. I know you have to start somewhere. I understand that, but I just I wonder if we're really there's better places to put the money, I think.
Gotcha, thank you.
Yeah.
Jimmy?
Yeah. Actually, rank.
Sorry, Jimmy. Let's try and leave.
All right, sorry. So I ranked it higher than it ultimately ended up ranking with everybody else, but it was fairly expensive for what we were getting. But it didn't make it into even my top 7. So we still would have run out of money before we got to it. I had some concerns about how they're going to deal with continued livestock impacts and some concerns about how involved the range program was in helping undo the issues that were largely caused by livestock grazing.
Thanks, Jimmy. Jeff, thoughts?
Yeah, so I agree with the weaknesses that have been pointed out earlier, and it's hard. It would be hard for me to justify to someone, pays for their habitat stamp on this. What are they getting from this project? That it really doesn't seem to benefit very much from that way. So that's another weakness I would add.
Thank you. JP?
Yeah, it isn't that I don't like the concept of cleaning up that area up there for the habitat, because it can get, there's a lot of areas that are just absolutely choked out. But I go back with the fencing issues, and the broad allocation of the funds are, it's written in there so that they can do whatever they want with the funding. And that's not the way it works for me. I don't know how much is going to end up in the fencing. They said the fencing was in good shape, 4-strand, which is good, but how much of this allocation would have went to fencing and fixing all that stuff without any help from the lessee? And and of course the grazing issues are also there. Just that was the nail that put it. Would I like to see connectivity from the Jemez to the Mount Taylor area through there with good habitat? Absolutely. I think that could be a really vital and healthy thing for both those mountain ranges. But you're going to have to get through a lot of private property and a lot of other things there. So I'm not quite sure where we're at with that, but that's where I was with this.
Thank you. All right.
That area needs a ton of work, obviously, but yeah, I couldn't rank it real high for some of the same reasons others spoke for. So just that's not ready to go there.
Okay. And Mark Cadwalder's on fire assignment. I don't have any narrative from him, but I guess I could share his scores on this project in the past one. So he put that 6 Mile Dam at 11 and Upper Rio Preco at 8. Okay. The next one's the Santa Fe Forest AOP. We kind of have that. Yeah, we don't need to.
We hammered that one already.
So let's move on to Ariel, Mesquite, and Carlsbad.
I got interested in Shinnery Oak. I knew nothing about it. I read at least a dozen research papers on it. It sounds like an almost unique habitat that's just in that Texas, Southwest New Mexico, a little bit in western Arizona, and a little tiny bit up in Utah. It is nearly unique. It's probably a remnant of the last ice age. It's got all kinds of wildlife there. There's an endangered lizard. I think the prairie chicken nest there. Mesquite is nasty. I grew up in South Texas. I dislike mesquite, anything that will get rid of it. My main concern was that the aerial spraying would, kill both Shinnery oak and mesquite and then just create a grassland. And there's probably the most relevant paper I got is titled Restoring Sand Shinnery Oak Prairies with Herbicide and Grazing in New Mexico. It was published in Southwestern Naturalist in September 2016. And I just want to read a sentence here. Restoring and managing sand shinnery oak prairie can support biodiversity, specific species of conservation concern, and livestock production. And they investigated a much more toxic herbicide than what's being proposed, and then monitored it over 10 years. And it said that with moderate grazing and that kind of treatment, it successfully restored sand shinnery oak prairie to a vegetation composition similar to pre-settlement. So I rented number 6 on mine. It's only 150K. There's a lot of monitoring that goes on with it. So, and personally, my daughter was down there on a project looking, about 2 weeks ago, looking completely unrelated. She had no idea that this was a project, completely, looking for, box turtles. I guess they are of concern down there. And she said it was, and they camped out. She said it was one of the most amazing experiences she's had in New Mexico. No lights, no noise, the sky over and just rolling. These shinnery oak only grow knee high, chin high, that's why they're shinnery, and 95% of the biomass is underground. They're neat.
They do have a very unique,
So,
adaptation to just growing in that sand. They
Yeah.
figured it out.
yeah, and so based on the rarity of the habitat, the fact that it is almost unique, I ranked it 6. Now, I would like to see that project go on.
Thanks.
And I hope I change the mind.
There's some big deer that are in there too,
You know,
a lot of deer.
Okay, I ranked it probably on the lower end. And not that I disagree that the removal of the mesquite is not a good thing. I think it's probably, obviously needs to be done. My primary concern is I didn't see any mention of an environmental review of a herbicide application of that scale. And that just concerns me that there's no environmental review. At least maybe there was one done perhaps, but it was not attached that I can see.
Okay. Yeah, that might be something that somebody could get a hold of for you at some point. But we didn't necessarily present that specifically. It's just both Carlsbad and Roswell BLM have been using Sendero as a herbicide on mesquite.
It's just as previously mentioned, there's a lot of other issues or
Yeah.
hazard risks involved, but doing that on that scale of. I see more.
Okay. Yep.
I listened to Ron. And at our last meeting, it looked like there may have been substantial risk involved in various ways, depending on what the insurer would do. For me, it would raise one, but I had it 8, and so that would push it up to 7, so it would put it right on the border, right? And if something else doesn't come through, which often happens, then I would want it to be something that we would look at under those conditions.
Okay. Leave. You're muted again, leave.
I got double muted.
There we go, yeah.
All right, can you hear me now? Yes, it
Yes.
is a very unique habitat. I'm familiar with it in some work I did with lesser prairie chickens near there, and it is important. It's quite different, quite diverse. And in the presentation, I was worried about some grazing, and I think my biggest worry was that the rest period was much too short for recovery. I mean, you're going to need 5 or 6 or 10 year rest period to really bring it back to what you want. If you're going to throw back the same problems right on top of the issue after addressing the spraying. But I did rank it 5th because, for one thing, I felt that we needed to include something in the southeast area, and that was the only other possible thing after the 6 Mile Dam. And it is something that could be positively done if it were applied right and if there were some adjustments to it, especially with the rest period. Uh, so, and it is within. I mean, you have 240,000, and I think it's only 20,000 off. There might be some shaving and stuff to do on other projects, so it might be able to come up or move up. So that's all I got.
Okay. Thank you. Jimmy, what do you have?
Yeah, I mean, I had mixed feelings about it. I'd like to see the project come back, but I'd like to see some more details on any adjustment that's going to be done on the allotment. I share Lee's concern. The rest period that they proposed seemed to be kind of short on the one hand, but it also seemed to be kind of vague as well. So there wasn't really like a firm commitment, like we're gonna rest it for 3 years or. And I was quite unclear based on how they were going to be applying the herbicide, how they were actually going to arrest it based on the distribution of pastures and the allotments. It seemed like they're treating patches with inside of pastures, and I'm not sure how you're going to rest that without resting the entire pasture.
Yeah, got it. Jeff?
Yep, I think, Leaf and Jimmy just, those points brought it out, my major concerns, and, it's worthwhile, but there's some, issues to be addressed and to make it a lasting, successful project.
Thank you. JP?
Yeah, I kind of ranked it around 6 on that. But I'm mixed feelings on it for sure, and I could go either way with it. For the exact same reasons, the resting period, because once it's done, if you don't let it get back to where it needs to be to get healthy, the cattle isn't going to help it. But what made me like the concept was, I don't know if anybody's ever ran dogs and stuff in that country, but those little mesquite bushes that are low and spreading out, they're brutal on dogs' feet or their paws. I mean, and it's good for quail and things of that nature, which is important to a lot of people. And I think a lot of people do hunt the area for birds in that respect. And we can get rid of some of the mesquite, that would be a good thing. So I could go either way. I understand completely the resting period and how you're going to protect it, because when you look at other herbicided areas, when they did creosote and mesquite, it's 5 years later and it still looked horrible, because the cattle were just walking right over the down fences. So yeah, but I do want projects like that done out there for bird enhancement. That's it.
Thanks, JP. Art, you have anything to add?
Not much to add. I like the fact that it was down there in the southeast, and, we need to. Excuse
Okay.
me. I think I turned my thing off. I think we need to show that, we appreciate their support of, Habitat Stamp, and I think it's a decent project. I rank it 5. The budget's certainly, probably doable with that leftover money where we drew the first line. So, I think that gives it a few extra, or some extra reason to if we're going to select something down below our original cutoff, that might be one to pop in there and would fit in nicely. So yeah, and I think the main thing is it's a part of the state that we don't really pay much attention to on Habitat Stamp over the years. So I think they deserve some consideration. That's it.
Thank you.
So Caitlin, can you tell me again, where's the cutoff? Like, which project do we run out of money that's with the project being fully funded, and then which project is partially funded on this list?
It's this furthest right column showing the HSP budget balance. After Maine South, 240,000 would be left for the next project, which right now is the Southwest Wildlife Habitat Connectivity. Which I think that total project is 350. I think that fence is one of those projects that it's not an all or nothing necessarily, that if money were to trickle to it, work could be done. But yeah, and then right now aerial mesquite is just after that. Anything else on that one?
Yeah, I'd like to add one more thing on. We're talking, it keeps coming up, the funding and things to that nature. And, we're just barely getting a little bit up there. Just food for thought. I rank that Canadian River project down low, partly not because it's not a good project, but it's not a detrimental project that needs to happen immediately. A lot of things have been happening up there, and it's doing well, and it's just doesn't have to happen this year, and that frees up $350,000 to help spread this money around to the whole state, not just up the north.
Can I add something to that?
Yeah, go ahead, Lee.
I agree with John. It's a great place. I've been there too, and they've done a tremendous amount of work, but it's nothing that's urgent to get done. Those trees are not going to grow beyond a few inches over the next year or two, and so I actually ranked it 8th. Because it just didn't rise up there, because I was trying to also include some other parts of the state that I think need to have some attention.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, Mark.
I wanted to just say something about the Southwest connectivity. He's saying I may have a little bit of conflict on that because backcountry hunters and anglers, there's a lot of volunteers that have been doing this work, and this would be a continuation of that. And it certainly helps if the state is also assisting in that. But it's right on the borderline. So I would hope that that might be considered at some point if there's money available for it. Just because again, the map.
Yeah.
It's down in the southwest, it's down around Boot Hill and nearby. And there are a lot of hunters who hunt there. That's all I got to say on that.
Yeah, thanks for kicking that off. Ron, you want to continue with the Southwest Wildlife Habitat Connectivity Project?
I ranked it fairly low, and it's almost entirely because of a kind of a philosophical position I have that the grazing permittees need to have some skin in the game, and we don't just keep doing things for them. And the net wire fencing, I'm sure requires maintenance. If they get a new barbed wire fence that's not going to require maintenance for another 5 years or so, that's a benefit to them. I think they need to be paying something for that. So that's why I ranked it low.
Thanks. Manny?
I don't disagree with those thoughts as we've discussed in previous meetings. I think those permittees should be responsible for a lot of that. I did rank it higher probably than the continuation of the work that we've done in the past and supported in the past. And I think that just shows a commitment to doing that and following up on previous work.
Thanks. Anything else you wanted to add, Mark, or should we jump on? Okay, Lee.
I agree with them about the permittees being more involved. But I ranked it right in the middle, partly to bring something from the Southwest into the projects. And also, correct me if I'm wrong, but aren't there two parts of this? One in the San Andreas and one in the pyramids?
Yes.
And so those could be divided into two different projects to change the cost of it, bringing something back later, and maybe with some coordination with it, permittees, and plus there could be some changes to what's going on. You know, we talked about replacing a 6-wire fence that's a regular barbed wire fence versus removing the top and bottom wire, and how that would change things. So maybe we could go back and put a bit bigger microscope on it for that part and change how much it costs, or split it up.
Yeah, I think that one being on the bubble, I mean, at this point, I don't think we'd necessarily tease anything out, but if it were to be on the bubble and not fully funded, we could probably have the discussion about how to prioritize that portion of money, where that should get directed within that project.
Okay. It's right there on the edge with me. I can see the need for it, but I also see the political implications with the other users of that property, the multi-use concept there.
All right, thanks, Lee. Jimmy.
So I understand where everyone's coming from on the sentiments about the permittee needing to have some skin in the game. And I don't disagree with that. On the other hand, I think that landscape permeability is one of the biggest issues in the arid regions of the state for a lot of species, and it's going to continue to get worse And net wire fence basically stops, pretty much everything. Pronghorn can't move, javelina can't move. A lot of medium-sized species can't move through it. And so I actually ranked it third, for a couple reasons. One is that it's super important. It's going to get more important as things get drier and, we have more frequent drought. Those animals need to be able to move around the landscape. The second thing is when you remove a fence, the impacts are immediate, right? So you don't have to wait for a post-treatment vegetation recovery. Some of these thinning treatments we do, you actually make poorer quality habitat for some species for a while, right? So like a lot of our thinning projects actually decreases quality for black bears until about 5 to 10 years later when the shrubs start to recover. And fences are one of those few projects that the treatment effects are immediate, and it's relatively inexpensive compared to some of our other projects. So I mean, I ranked it higher. I was actually surprised that some of the other committee members didn't rank it highly. I guess I share the concerns about the permittees, but I'm not willing to continue to make the wildlife suffer or cut off my nose to spite my face. That's
Thanks, Jimmy. Jeff, you're up.
Yeah, great points have been brought up about this. It's, I agree, it really needs to be done. The only reason for my putting it where it is there, we have lots of other good projects. So, yeah, so the possibility of, if this does wind up on the bubble, of splitting it out, or, that, I think I'd be willing to consider that if it stays on that funding decision bubble.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. How about you, JP?
Yeah, I ranked it in the middle, basically. But the way I did my ranking, it's still getting funded. So I felt it needed to be funded as well. There's no doubt. I totally agree with Jimmy. The connectivity of getting these animals to where they can move about the landscape is pretty vital, especially down there, for lots of reasons. But it is, we have opportunities to get fencing changed to where animals can get through there. That's a big thing. We're doing it with animal overpasses and things like that. Without the fencing through those areas, it does nothing, besides put it from one private property to another private property. And we want these animals to be able to come onto public property. And that's a big thing. It's not just small. So I really felt it needed to be funded. I totally agree too with Leaf that we should look at part of that project to where they just altered the fence per se. And I don't know why they couldn't do that on the fly, even if it was funded, knowing that that's the direction we want them to go. And then, the only there is no downside. The upside would be the project costs a little bit less. And then that money just gets carried on through, just like it has with other types of projects. So I think there's ways we can get a lot of these projects funded and only have a couple, 3 projects, maybe 4 at the most, that don't get funded. So that's, yeah, I like the project.
Okay, thank you. Art, you're up.
Yeah, I ranked this right in the middle. I've been looking at these netwire projects many times over the years, and this is an area that sounds like it could definitely benefit from the work. If after listening to some of the earlier discussions, especially about the Canadian River, I probably ranked that one fairly high. I think I ranked it at 3, but I have probably an inherent bias toward riparian areas, so I wouldn't, if I was looking at redoing my scores, I'd maybe lower the Canadian River down several notches, and if it meant that we could get those two southern projects, the net wire and the aerial done, I would not be against lowering the Canadian River if that meant getting those other two up in the scores.
Okay,
Caitlin, do you know why we didn't get many or any projects from the Lincoln or the Gila? Or the Cibola for that matter?
or the Cibola, you said?
Yeah,
Well, so-
like none of the forests or down here in the
Yeah.
southern part of the state put in any projects this year.
We're still working with both of those forests, well, all 3 of those forests. Jen's on here, she can attest to that and fleshing out projects. There's some that seem like a good fit for HSP, but just weren't developed enough this year to bring them forward. There are other projects hanging out there that we've been discussing with them that are a little smaller scale and maybe not something that HSP has been excited about in the past. As far as the Lincoln goes, that's another one where we're kind of just getting our gears going. The federal climate right now certainly didn't help us, I would say, in developing projects anywhere across the state. But yeah, Jen, do you have anything to add? Like I think I mentioned last time, we did work with the Gila to get some money on the ground on that trout fire star.
Isn't Diamond Creek on the Gila?
Yeah, that's in the Gila.
And there's some fish projects.
Yeah, Maine South End's in the Gila.
See, Jen, we can't hear you right now.
And she's unmuted.
I could call you quick, Jen, if you want. Hey, Jen, I have you on speaker, so why don't you speak loudly and maybe turn the, well, it'll be better once I'm not talking, I think.
I just wanted to say that we're working really strongly with the Gila still, and projects are definitely in development. But yeah, the federal climate's definitely been pretty hard. And I do think some projects will come out next year, when we do this in April or March.
All right, I don't know if you caught all that, but yeah, she just reiterated, we're still working with those forests. She was talking about the Gila in particular and foresee having some more wildlife focused projects next spring. Thanks, Jen. Okay. So that brings us to Maine and South. Ron.
I ranked it number 1, because it's in the Gila, it's in the Southwest for one, and I thought it was a good project. I think, doing restoration after fires is something that we're gonna be doing a lot of. I thought the project was well designed, and it's habitat improvement, so they get the bugs reproducing, so later on they can put Gila trout back in it, so. I ranked it 1.
Okay,
This is Maine and South Diamond?
Maine and South Diamond.
Okay. I thought it's really good stuff. It needs to be done as quickly as possible. My bad for not being available at the presentation because, for one, I can't believe the Bear team left it in that condition. One thing I would like to see in the design and not only this one, but, the one that we had the opportunity to do the field visit on. I don't see any upstream protection of these improvements downstream. debris catchers, silt basins, something that's gonna protect those improvements, because these areas are gonna wash out, they're gonna blow out. I've seen that, many times, and I would like to see that included in the design. None of these things aren't pretty, but they're not permanent either. They've gotta be, and they've gotta be maintained in order to be effective, so, but no, I think this is really good stuff. I rated this very high. I think it needs to be done as quickly as possible.
Okay, thank you, Mark.
I agree completely. I had down as 4, but everything on my top 5 or so were things I thought were important to do. I think this is important to do. And it's just about the cheapest thing that we're looking at here. So, yeah.
Yeah. All right, moving online. Leaf, what do you have to add?
Yes, am I muted again?
No, we can hear you.
Okay, if you can hear me. I didn't rate it quite as high. I think it's incredibly important. I didn't see the urgency in it compared to a couple of other things. But it is planning and it is not a real expensive project. And so I don't have a problem with it where it is right now.
Right. Jimmy.
I thought it was a good project. I ranked it kind of in the middle, but the only reason I ranked it in the middle is because of the price. I knew it was still going to make the cut. If it had actually cost more, if it was both design and implementation, I would have actually ranked it quite a bit higher than I did. But yeah, I liked the project. I wanted to see it move forward.
Thanks. Jeff.
Yeah. So, I think the Gila trout, are an incredibly important species. And the fact that these 2 streams represent the homes of 2 of the 5 lineages that are maintained in the hatcheries now, I think is important to remember. That said, I think, and the logistics of this project are going to be tremendous. How are you actually going to get the work done? This isn't just drive up. There's no heavy equipment that can be used on this. So I think the logistics and just the fact that, the changing condition, I mean, it is just devastated in there. And, that's what you see, these post-massive fires where, the instability of the watersheds themselves, it just, it's really, really, really going to be challenging. But that said, we need to start and clearly getting a firm assessment of the, of what's going on in the system is needs to be done. So.
Thanks, Jeff. JP.
Yeah, like I mentioned before, I like this project for sure. But I would put it under urgency because, it's just a planning stage and it's going to be years before we actually get things going on in there. And, when you talking about the water coming out of there, without help, it's going to start drying up. It's going to evaporate. It's just, once it stops flowing, that's a bad thing. We need to make sure that water supply is nice and cool and plenty of pools and things to that nature. The good thing about the area, I think a lot of it is a lot of the oak and stuff is stabilizing a lot of those hills already. I mean, it was immediate growth. So that's a good thing. It's already starting on its own and we just need to help it.
Thank you. Last but not least, Art, what do you have to add?
Yeah, not much to add to what we've already heard. I think it's an important project. The price is certainly right. I didn't rank it super high, mainly because similar to what Jimmy had said, I figured with the low price, it was going to make the cut anyway. The but I think it's important, that at least we get down in there and start thinking about what needs to be done, because as Jeff said, it's not gonna be an easy job, to get the work done. So the better, sooner we get a design and start thinking about what needs to be done on the ground, the faster we can get work done down there.
Thanks, Art. Okay, let's jump to Canadian River conifer thinning. That one seemed to have there's some things to discuss on that one. So, Ron, could you kick us off again?
I ranked that as my fourth choice, because it's a really special riparian area in the middle of a giant grassland, and I think restoring it to its functioning position is important. However, I'm also sensitive to the argument that if stuff is being done, it's not in any great risk of further degradation right now, just junipers growing. And so, based on that previous discussion, I'd be willing to lower my rating, judgment on that lower, so we could provide money for some things that are more urgent.
Okay, thanks. Manny.
Well, I rated that pretty low, and primarily because of for some of the same reasons of that we talked about with the Carlsbad treatment. I understand that the environmental review did result in a Ponzi, and doesn't seem to be raising too many concerns. I know looking at the photographs, previous treatment do appear to be very successful. I just have reservations about applying herbicides on that scale, especially when we're applying. There's no way to avoid it in this area directly into the stream.
Can I ask a question? Weren't the junipers going to be stump treated individually?
I didn't think so. I thought this was another aerial treatment.
No, this was through and cutting and stump treating.
Okay, maybe I misunderstood, but I still think there's a possibility in that area of herbicides moving off target. That's why I ranked it low.
Okay. Sorry.
I ranked it 3, just because I think that the prairies are important to us as well, and that's land that doesn't show up very well in a lot of places. But I'd probably drop it a little bit. It's a little expensive. It's 300. Yeah. I would probably rank it 7th now, based on the other numbers that have changed.
Okay. Leave.
Well, like I said, I don't think it's an urgent thing to be taken care of. I think we should continue looking at it, and I'd like to see it come back in the future. But as far as where it's at already, it's come a long ways, and we could put it off a little bit and spend some of this money somewhere else.
Okay, thanks. Jimmy.
Yeah, I agree with Leaf. I ranked it in the middle. But I would be willing to adjust my ranks if some of the other projects were going to make the cut then. I also would like to see it come back in the future though.
Okay.
If it doesn't get funded this round.
All right, thank you. Jeff.
Yeah, so I had rated this project my, 4th, and because it's a good project, and it showed the prior history. It looks like it's being successful, and so that was the main reasons driving my prioritization, but, and I really, I hadn't considered the urgency of it, the rate of threat that would be corrected with this. So that, I think I take that and could see that if you know, the committee determines there are other projects that are more pressing, more urgent to put a stop in, then it could shift my ranking.
Thank you. JP?
Yeah, agreed. Just like I mentioned before too, I think there's no reason to push it. It can come back next year or even the year after. It's not detrimental. But according to my math, is if you put that at 8, you'd probably get it funded all the way through 8. And then you just had the Rio Puerco 6 Mile and the Santa Fe AOP on the bottom 3. So you're only losing 3 projects this year. That's the way I was kind of looking at it.
Yeah.
Okay, Art?
Well, I already mentioned earlier that, you know, I mean, I ranked this fairly high, but given, you know, the discussions we've had, I have no problem lowering it down if we can get a couple of those other projects, especially the ones in the southern part of the state funded. I think those are all important too, and you know, I said maybe more urgent than the Canadian River thing, you know. But you know, I've been involved in earlier habitat projects that we funded along there, and so I like the area, but you know, I'm willing to lower my score if it means we can get more projects done.
Cool, thank you. All right, sounds like there may be a little movement on that one. Let's real quick get through these higher ones, which everything seems pretty solid and among the top rankings. So I don't know that we have to spend a whole lot of time, but just to be fair across all the projects and get your feedback, we'll try and do that. Starting with retail, Ron.
Okay, I think, based on the presentation, that's an area that needs restoration, but I looked in detail at the project plan and there's some things that didn't make sense for me. First of all, they said it was gonna be completed in 2 months and that it was all gonna be, hand dug, no equipment, if I read that correctly. And I don't see how it can be done. So I don't know if I.
It's gonna have equipment in there.
It'll be heavy.
Yeah, because they're moving big, large boulders. They can't do that by
Well,
hand.
there was some stuff about rock bank, well, it was these dike treatments.
I got you.
Yeah.
And it was all gonna be done by hand, is what I read.
So there's this project, and this might be where the confusion came from, is that it will be connecting to a project in the headwaters, which that project might be done by hand, and somebody else is doing that project. I believe Amigos Bravos is doing that
Okay.
project. So this is downstream from that.
Okay,
So,
so,
I don't know.
they showed that picture of the stream at the campground. And it was like
No.
50 feet wide and 6 inches deep and muddy.
Yeah, no,
And I didn't think that.
there's no way.
There's no way you could
Correct.
do Z-Dike stuff would take 25 years to work. on
No,
that.
this would be with heavy machinery.
Okay, all right, so, well, I ranked it low, but it doesn't make any difference. But that's good to have the clarification.
Yes, sir.
And what was the completing it in 2 months, though? Is that the plan?
Yeah, and this is information based off of just from experience with other projects that we've
Yeah.
done and with the Forest Service and TU's input. You know, when I asked them to, you know, reassuring a question like, how long do you think this will take for implementation? Everyone was kind of on board around 2 months for implementation.
Before implementation.
Oh, what are you talking about? I'm sorry. Did I miss?
So, between today's meeting and ranking till we actually get machinery out there is going to take about 2
Oh,
months.
so
But
that's,
the actual implementation is gonna take longer than
That
2 months.
didn't come true in the way it was
Yeah.
written.
This one is pretty much shovel ready.
Okay.
All we're doing is going through the contractual process,
Okay.
which in the Fed system and in the state system, we're guessing is gonna take about.
Yeah, clearly you did that.
Yeah.
Okay, I would change mine drastically.
Sorry.
Okay.
Okay, Manny.
Okay. I thought the project mirrored approved projects that we've approved in the past, including the one we inspected last year. The location is a high use area and the improvements are gonna benefit a large number of stamp purchasers. I thought it's a solid project and it's got great advertising potential for the program.
All right, thank you. Mark.
Based on what people are saying, I probably should rate it a little bit higher. My concern was it's 500. $500,000. Many things, many projects that we can develop over there. I'd probably put it somewhere in the middle at this point, just based on what these excellent folks discuss.
Okay. Thanks, Leaf.
To me, it's kind of like the Whitewater project. It's a really good in-your-face deal for the public to see what we're doing. It's a popular place to be there. It has a chance to maybe be improved enough that we can stock Rio Grande Cutthroat in there, even if maybe they don't reproduce. And I just think it's a great project.
Okay, thanks. Jimmy.
Did I say catwalk?
You said
Whitewater.
Whitewater.
Yeah, let's say.
Yeah, Whitewater. Okay. I'm getting old, so.
Yeah, I think it's a good project. I ranked it 4th, I think. I like the fact that it's focusing on improving habitat conditions for fish and other aquatic species. And I particularly like the fact that it's going to be very easily publicly accessible.
Okay. Thanks, Jeff.
Yep, I rated this project as my highest priority because of, I think, impactful, both for the fish and for the people that are using it. And so I think this is something that, and I'm confident it'll be successful and make it much better. So I like it.
Thanks, Jeff. JP.
Yeah, I agree with everybody. It's going to affect a lot of people. The only thing that I would really like to see too is, we fix these streams and things like that in those areas. I'd really like to see some USFS step up and make those camping areas a little bit better, or coordinating with our in-stream fixes. The problem happens is because of people, but that's what we're trying to serve. But if these camping spots and things like that, I don't really know exactly how it is there, but my guess is there's people all over the stream, the edges with camping, and they're just right on top of it. I'd like to see them do some people management there, so that our in-stream stuff doesn't get degraded by overuse, or by not overuse, but encroachment of their camping and stuff like that. Because that's the problem. That's been a problem in the Jemez also, where we're doing those projects on the Rio de los Vacos. These people are camping right on the shore. There's just hordes of people just all over the bank camping and it just erodes it and causes trash issues. And it's so I'd like to see some acknowledgement that they need to address that as well.
Thanks, JP. Art?
Not much to say. I ranked this number 2, so I'm happy to see that it looks like it's going to be funded. There's some of the same reasons the other folks have said. That's it.
Okay. Third one was forest restoration fuels prep. Ron, what's your thoughts on that one?
That was my second ranked, proposal. Our New Mexico forests are gonna burn if, we don't do fuels treatment. They're gonna be crown fires, and then we're just gonna convert it to oak scrub. We need to do it everywhere as fast as we can. It's a good project.
Okay, thanks, Manny.
I really like this project, because this just strikes me right where I live. I did this for 30 years. I think it's critical to the future health of our forests. The scope of work is a concept that, like I said, is very familiar to me. And I believe it's a much needed step to protect not only this area, but to contain any starts in that area from developing into a much larger issue. So I really like this one. It was my number 1.
All right, thank you. Bart?
Same thing I said 1 year ago when I was sitting in Ron's seat. This is my number 1. I spend a lot of time in these forests, and we gotta do what we can do to maintain what we can, especially since we're gonna have that much federal money around. So any way we can help, I think is useful.
Okay, thank you. Lee?
It's a very proactive and large scale program of continued partnerships. It needs to continue. This is a great way to spend money and for the future.
Thanks, Lee. Jimmy?
Yeah, I agree. This is one of my top choice for the projects. I think it's really important. I think we get the most bang for our buck using fire. And I really like the change that was made a couple years ago to put more flexibility into this rather than giving us individual fires in a specific area that more often than not didn't happen because conditions weren't right. So I like that there's flexibility and the forest can use this wherever those windows open up where it's safe to use prescribed burning.
Thanks, Jimmy. Jeff?
Yep, agree. It's important to do this, so support it.
Okay, JP?
Yeah, I agree. I put it in the middle though, knowing that it was going to get funded probably. The only thing I'd like to make sure is that, I like that they can use it everywhere, wherever they need to, the windows, but I'd want to make sure that it's for habitat and in good habitat areas, not just for a fire break for a municipality or something like that, because that's their responsibility, I think, for that. I just want I want to know that it's going into good habitat. Other than that, it's a good deal.
Yeah, and JP, just to quickly address that, I brought up, we have these kind of longstanding agreements with the forest that we've both come to the table and looked at to avoid inserting money in places where other funds could be used around municipalities. They tend to be more back 40. But even still, in honing in on what this money would get spent on, both Forest Service and us will be at the table in deciding that. And we, as a wildlife agency, are certainly more interested in where we can best serve wildlife, where other funds are not going to be available. Art?
Yeah, I'm all for the fuel prep stuff, the pre-fire stuff, because it's, it is important. I didn't rank it real high, probably because there wasn't a lot of specificity there, so I just couldn't get excited about it, even though, I've supported these projects in the past. Yeah, I have no problem with funding it though.
Okay, thanks, Art. Stuart Meadows would be the next one up for discussion. Ron?
This was my third ranked, proposal. It's well designed, it's gonna do needed work, it's in an area that I've, been to in the past and wondered why there were all those cows down in there, and I guess they took care of that in a previous project. I think it's well conceived. The project plan looked reasonable to me. I think it's money well spent.
I did not rate this one that high on my list, and I don't know, I'd be willing to change that based on what everybody else's comments are. As far as the design only, I thought the conceptual designs appeared to follow a standard pattern, and other than that, I'm willing to be flexible and changing based on other comments.
Okay, thanks.
And then I wasn't thrilled with it because I think it's expensive and it's part of a larger model that sounds extremely complex, and I'm not sure that we can afford to move very far through that, but I don't object to funding it. I just think it's a tricky one, because if this first piece costs $435, the whole thing is gonna cost millions and millions, I'm afraid.
Okay, Leaf.
It's a very unique area that I'm pretty familiar with. That's why they homesteaded it in the first place. It was a unique place, not only for wildlife, but I guess for humans and livestock at the time. I like the plans, and I think they're well thought out, and it's a multi-species project. It's not just focused on one animal. It's focused on a community there, and I think it's just a good project. I rated it number one.
All right, thanks, Leaf. Jimmy?
Yeah, I agree with Leaf for the same reasons. I think it's a good project, and yeah, it came out second, just below the prescribed burning for me.
Thanks. Jeff?
Yep, agree with all the strong points. It came out number 3 for me, and I think it'll be an impactful, great first phase of the project, so.
Thanks, Jeff. Art, anything else?
No, this is an area where we've funded some project work in the past, so it's nice to see that continuing. Also, we really don't fund too many projects that I would say are beneficial to waterfowl. So that's a bonus that I see for this also. Yeah, I like the project. I ranked it real high.
Great, thank you. That just leaves the Vidal, which
How about
sure
me?
got.
No, John, never mind.
You skipped over me, Caitlin.
Sorry, JP. My bad. Go ahead. You get 2 extra minutes.
Oh, I got nothing. No, I'm just kidding. I always got something. I think I rated it number 1. I know that section's 36 acres or whatever, but that's a pretty darn good sized wetland area. To return that whole zone to a wetland, the species it's going to benefit is numerous. I mean, like was mentioned before, we don't have a lot of wetlands in this area, and that is a prime piece of wetland area that should be reestablished, which is going to help everything downstream. Gonna hold that water up, and it's a great project, and I like it.
Thanks, JP. Sorry again. Yeah, Vidal, AOP. Ron?
I ranked this above the middle on mine, and I like the project. It seems to me it's a piece of the puzzle to bringing the whole Rio Castilla drainage up to a fully functioning riparian system. And it fits in with what's been done already, and I think it's very funny.
I rank this very high as well. It didn't make number 1 or 2, but I did rank it as a 3, primarily because of what you mentioned on the Santa Fe. A lot of money to replace 2 culverts, but I did rank it higher due to the simplicity of the project, quick turnaround, immediate results, low maintenance, and also had the good fortune to have a neighbor that visited the site over the weekend. And she went to some extreme lengths to explain to me the value of this project. So, changed my rating on that, and I rated it a 3, so I think it's good stuff.
Well, thanks. Bye.
I'm fine with having it up where it is. I changed my score on it 4 times. Partly because, again, I think it's something expensive for what they're doing, but I'm fine with it because it's clearly a good thing for us to put some support into.
Okay. Lee.
Yes, it puts the finishing touches on a very long-term project that I hope this caps it off. It'd be nice to have this all done and go down the road. I did talk to Jeff a little bit because he got me connected with some of the Trout Unlimited people, and they helped convince me to move it up, which might have changed a lot, but it's a great project.
Okay, thanks. Jimmy.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a good project. I think this was like my third ranked number 3 for me. And we put a lot of money into various projects up in that Valle Vidal area. So, yeah, I support this one too.
Great. Jeff.
Yep, I really like this a lot. It came out my number 2. I like the fact that it's a large scale project, and Habitat Stamp program is then partnering with other funding sources, other agencies, and it's well designed. It's designed to accommodate these perennial streams, at flood stage, and so it's going to, they are perennial, so they will provide more spawning habitat for Rio Grande cutthroat trout, and the are built to allow passage of other native or aquatic organisms as well. Yeah, I really liked it and think this will be great.
All right, back on track here, JP.
Yeah, thanks, Caitlin. I had it on at 4. I think it's a good project, mostly in the sense that, it's $225,000. We're getting, the partners helping with that. It's making it more affordable to where we're not, doing the whole bill. I believe that's what was the case. That's exactly the same way they should do the Santa Fe AOP, get more help involved so that the cost is spread out. But it's running the making it a complete picture up there. And I would like to see hear some reports of all the other work that's been done up there. I don't think we've really seen enough of the fruits of our labor, of all the money that has been spent up in the Valle Vidal. But would love to hear some reports and see some pictures and see what's going on up there.
All right, thank you. Art. Are you there, Art?
Oh, I'm sorry. I had it on mute. Yeah, this was my number one project, so I'd like to see it done. It's kind of the finishing touches on, watershed wide cutthroat restoration. So I think, like to see this put in place, and it's a great place up there. A lot of volunteer work has been done by a whole bunch of different groups up there. So it's got good public access. Just there's not much not to like about this. So I'm all for it.
Okay, thank you. I'm feeling maybe the need for a break soon. We might have,
We do have a public,
yeah,
a member of public.
I can't unmute. Can you unmute her? Carrie, we see you're here. If you have any comments at all on this, you'd be welcome to unmute yourself and speak.
I appreciate the opportunity. I'm just kind of here to learn. So thanks for the opportunity, but I'm just listening, trying to learn.
Awesome. Thanks for being here.
JP has his hand raised.
Yeah, JP.
Yeah, could you reconfigure that and see what would happen if you put the Canadian River at 8?
Yeah. So if everything was the same, except that got bumped?
Yeah, to 8.
Yeah.
Because we had just over 2 million, right?
It's just under 2 million.
Or it was just under? Oh, okay. I was kind of hoping it was just over.
Gotcha. So that would be one. Okay, so what that would do is, yeah, all those 7 projects you see right there would be funded with 50,000 left over to go down the Canadian River.
I really like that setup right there.
The motion in order?
Just
I don't know, hold on, what's this?
I mean, can we do that
No,
without?
let's let everybody look at it and see.
Jeff, go ahead.
Would that 50,000 go a long ways for that planning for the Santa Fe?
That's what I was going to suggest, is that if we move up, then only the design component for the Santa Fe, up then to number 9, I guess.
Oh, there you go.
Dollar amount.
Yeah, so that was gonna be 65.
That'd be 65,000.
Yeah.
Well, maybe they'll do it for 50.
Yeah, do you think?
Yeah.
I'm sure John has an extra $15,000 he'll throw in.
Yeah, I thought somebody had said earlier when we did, oh, never mind, I'm looking at the wrong one. Forget it. But yeah, I agree with Jeff.
I think that's a great idea too.
I like that.
Oh, where the extra money can come from the Southwest Wildlife Habitat connectivity when they just replace the strands instead of the whole fence.
You bet.
Do you guys have any level of confidence that Santa Fe OP would be able to get done? Yeah.
For 65. So when we do our estimates, that's based off of just, obviously previous designs that we've had done for other projects. And then we always put a little buffer in there just in case because of inflation. I mean, we've had, when we built barriers last year and then now we're building a barrier this year, you would be astonished on how much the price has gone up just in 1 year. So we always put a little buffer in there, but I'm sure it, you know, I would say that, yeah, there's probably a $15,000 contingency based on that. That's what I would say.
Yeah, there is often some cost savings somewhere down the line.
Yes.
So. Okay,
Is there a possibility that we can have them look at that, the wire, you know, just replacing some wires and not all of their fencing on that other project? I mean, that's a $350,000 project. Surely, you know, if they adjusted it a little bit, you know, we could make sure that that ninth one gets done.
yeah, I can't, yeah, go ahead, Lee.
Well, actually, if, I think that was 2 miles of fence that was barbed wire, with volunteers, they can remove those 2 wires and it wouldn't cost any more than taking care of the volunteers and take 2 miles off the cost of that, which was something like $15,000 a mile or something.
So 12 miles of that was net wire, right? So that all that net wire needs to be replaced. You can't just modify. You can't just modify that part. So it'd just be the 4-strand or 6-strand.
Yeah, I just don't know exactly what that savings would be. But that's something we could certainly look at to try to have some savings, I guess. I can't, you know, some we've developed with BLM. Jen's telling me she thinks that Floyd, our contractor, could probably easily do that and we get some savings there. I just don't know exactly how much. But I feel pretty good about that number being so small, that $15,000 gap, that we'd be able to recover that somewhere.
Yeah.
Whether it be with the adjustment on that section of fence, or elsewhere.
Yep.
Okay.
Do we need to make a motion to accept these changes? Is that appropriate?
Yeah, I think, we could make a motion to adopt this order.
Okay, so
Okay,
Nobody else has any issues? No issues anywhere?
Manny, anything? Anybody else's hand up, Carrie?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay. So Ron's made the motion to adopt the ranking order as is here. I'll add 10 and 11 to be official.
I second it.
As JP.
I second it.
Okay, so moved. We have our ranking. We have another item on the agenda. Why don't we take a break for 15 minutes? Sound good? And then come back to talk about JP and the subcommittee. We're gonna provide a little bit of an update. So yeah, let's reconvene at 11:15.
yeah, that's good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, great. Thank you, everybody. Yeah, this final item is a discussion of the subcommittee guidance, and I'll probably let the subcommittee take over pretty quick here. But I believe this subcommittee was formed about a year ago at this meeting. And they were looking into ways to provide the department and our federal partners guidance on bringing these projects forward. So without further ado, whoever would like to speak up for the subcommittee could take over.
I'll speak up. So at this point, you know, we haven't gotten really any feedback on these guidance document here. Partially because one particular biologist, I guess, rangeland guy, left one place and went to another place. So it's just like kind of like chasing the tail in a way. We're just not going to get anywhere at that point. So the bottom line is, at this point, I don't see any reason not to see if we can't get these recommendations put into our guidance document. Nothing in these recommendations actually are out of line, you know, with any BLM or USFS protocol on habitat degradation of grazing lessees. And basically, since this is our guidance document is, you know, guidance for us as a CAC, but it's also, like Caitlin said, guidance for the project that are brought forth to us. Almost everything, projects that come back, these questions that we ask are on this sheet, and a little bit more, but we need this in-depth information in order to get quality projects. And as a CAC and for the people, you know, we can only go by what protocol is for USFS and BLM when it comes to grazing lessees. And we can only expect them to do what their protocol is. So I'd like to open this up. Anybody's got any more questions with this stuff? Would like to have a round of input on everybody and see if there's any reasonings why we wouldn't just go ahead and vote to include this into our guidance document. And at that point, anybody that has anything to say, would love to hear from them. Even from USFS or BLM, we'd love to hear more input. We're always welcome. And the thing about this is, this can always be adjusted at any time. It's just a procedural thing. It's a working document, or living document, so it changes all the time. So if there's something that somebody down the road doesn't really like or wants to add to it, it can be done super easily. So anybody has anything to say, I'd like to hear it.
Is there anything below 5?
Yes.
Yeah. I'd just like to reiterate that, like, you know, and thank JP for pulling us all together. It's, you know, like you said, we're not stipulating that there are any changes or anything like that on part of the grazing management plans or anything like that. This whole purpose of this exercise was to get the CAC members more information on the history of the projects, why the area is in the shape that it's in, if it's a particular like a degraded area, how it got degraded, you know, what efforts have been made in the past, just to give us more information so that we can decide how best to recommend spending CAC money. Right? So if a project is degraded and the source of the degradation is still there, and there are no plans to mitigate or eliminate that source of the degradation, then those sorts of projects would probably rank really low for most CAC members, as they should. And so we just had, like you said, we had lots of questions. That same questions kept coming up over and over and over again. And we'd just like to see this information incorporated into the proposal, so we don't have to ask for it all the time.
I want comments? I think you all did a super job. This is really, really good in my opinion. The Forest Service, the grazing people, range managers on the Forest Service are supposed to get the allottees, permittees to sign off onto a grazing plan either every year or every other year. And it's supposed to have a lot of this stuff in it. And when I look at them on their Forest Service websites, they're out of date. They're very sketchy, whatever. If we get the Forest Service to do this with the grazing permittees, that would be a humongous improvement. But that's just an aside, but I like it. I think we should do it. It should be in our proposal, calls for proposals.
Any other comments in the room?
Yeah, I agree with Ron, of course. It's a tricky thing because what we're doing is writing something that then goes out to BLM and to the forests. And they're committing to it in a sense. Of course, really what we're hoping for is they will be talking to the people who own the land and so forth, getting guarantees about how things are going to be handled. There's no legal way that we can demand what is done by the other groups. On the other hand, the more of these things are out, I think the more useful it could be. And I think that we'll be able to look, when someone applies again, we'll be able to look on the second application and see if they have done all these things on the first application. I think that we should pass this, we should try it because it's this kind of a test. Is this going to make a difference? I think it might. I also think that based on federal financing for the next couple of years, I don't know that we expect a lot coming out of BLM, but I still think we should approve it.
Okay, I would do a slightly different perspective on what we're doing. I said, we're not requiring anybody to do anything. What we're saying is that the efficient use of habitat stamp money requires us to consider these effects. And you can write your proposals however you want, but we're going to evaluate them based on criteria that we think include these elements that will make our money go further. And I can't see that breaks any rules or laws whatsoever.
Agreed.
You have anything?
No, I think that last statement summarizes it well. I've talked to certain permittees and there's no teeth in any of that stuff that they deal with. It's not enforced. And I think this gives us some method to try to control where our money goes. We're not throwing good money after that. That makes sense.
Yeah, anybody else online have some comments on this?
Do
Yeah,
I see it as a great vehicle that will bring to the surface questions that individual CAC members may have, but maybe don't voice. And it allows for a more detailed discussion between us and agency personnel for a better understanding of what's there and a better way for us to put those funds forward. A lot of times when we get the project proposals, we have questions about, well, why wasn't this included or wasn't that included? And these are things that are very important to be included. So it's a great vehicle for that. And I don't think it has to be an edict for other agency. It's just a way to communicate better.
okay. Anybody else? Art, you have any comments?
Yeah, I would just, yeah, I mean, I think this is really good. Having been on the committee for, well, since well before COVID, there, we've, things have improved a lot since I first started doing this, and I think this will only help us continue and do a better job. And, you know, do our job more effectively, let's put it that way.
Great.
I need to add one thing. We got to give a lot of credit to JP and to Jim. I think they did the most of the work and the thinking, and especially JP putting this together.
Well, thank you. But it's definitely, you know, I'd have to default to Jimmy. He can put my thoughts out a lot clearer. So that's a good thing. Jimmy really kept it in focus, and I think it came out good. I've read it over and over and can't find anything that wouldn't be information we would like to know. You know, and the bottom line too is this is Habitat stamp public funding, and one of the biggest issues people that I know have are how come the habitat in a lot of areas are degraded by cattle, and we're using our funds to fix it, you know. But we someday I hope that we don't have this circle of part of the equation not showing up and doing what is needed, you know, to protect our habitat. It's in the best interest of habitat for wildlife and for grazing. You know, it's like if we can get this circle in a circle, then people could understand grazing a little bit better and have a little bit more respect for it, you know, because it's a needed thing. It's a something that has been in the West for many years, and don't really want it to go away. I just want them to take care of their end of the bargain. And this information is just the information is needed. So with that, you know, I'd like the motion that we adopt these into the guidance document.
I'll second that. Looks really good.
Okay, so let's take a vote on adopting these recommendations. I think there's a couple typos that may be cleaned up, but otherwise it'll be as is. Into the guidance document. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All ayes. Okay. So moved. I had one question. This is just for my clarity. If somebody could maybe provide an example of that number 7, which is riparian areas that are dependent on upland watershed to maintain its viability must include a mitigation plan for both the watershed and the riparian area. Do you have like a past project or proposed project in mind that you could maybe use as an example?
Well, last year that project up over by just by let's see, where was that project? It was a project that was proposed last year. It had the pictures of the area that we wanted to spring or that we wanted to fence off, and it was just dirt. And then but that type of a spring or riparian area wouldn't rebound on its own. It has to have the watershed to help it rebound. Now you take the Stewart Meadow fencing and things like that. We fenced that riparian area out of the exclosure of the cattle, but it had the ability to maintain and regenerate its own riparian area without having to address the watershed part. If that makes any sense, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's going to be true in very dry areas where you have some ephemerals that are coming down and eventually concentrate in some little oasis. And if you don't preserve the ephemerals upstream, the oasis goes away.
Yeah, we didn't want it to be, so strict that we couldn't take care of some riparian areas if we needed to, as long as it's not, we don't want to protect a riparian area or a spring if it's going to be dry. And we have lots of those out on the horizon right now. We have fenced areas that there's nothing there because the surrounding watershed area for it didn't get addressed. So now we, years before, we spent money on fences around this stuff and it's dry. And it's because it wasn't a complete comprehensive thought process.
Yeah, sounds good. In doing this, I realized we never actually technically voted on the rankings. So probably should bring that back up.
We just voted on rearranging.
Yeah, we moved to adopt it, but I didn't take eyes or.
Yeah, we did a move in a second and then moved on.
Yeah,
Without,
no, that's my fault. Let me pull it up real quick.
Ron
Sorry, forgive me.
motion to accept the rankings, seconded by John.
so we just need an all in favor.
Yeah,
Okay.
right, I didn't do that part. All right, so I think everybody can see these rankings. They are what has been agreed upon, what there was a movement to vote on for by Ron, seconded by JP. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, unanimous. All right, anything else before we adjourn?
Procedures Act.
No, well, I would like to thank everybody for putting this together. Caitlin, you and the whole team there. It's a lot of work and we appreciate it. And all the partners, we appreciate all their efforts and things of that nature on their end. Would love to see some more great projects and go from there. Thank you.
Thanks, JP. It does look like we have a hand raised. Yeah, we'll get you unmuted, Carrie, in just a sec.
I just wanted to be, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, I just wanted to say just a quick thank you to letting me sort of be a fly on the wall in your meeting. Learned a lot. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. All right, is there?
Yeah, I'd just like to, I think this is my last official meeting as a committee member. So I just wanted to thank everybody, all the professionals and the volunteers that have been on the committee over the last X number of years. I've learned a lot working with everybody, and it's been a real privilege.
Thank you, Art.
Good luck, Art.
Thank you, Art.
Next.
All right, is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll move to adjourn.
Okay.
Okay. Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Caitlin.
Thanks.